my fellow Americans. If you think you know politics, think again. I'm Michael Cohen, and every week on When You Know, we're pulling back the curtain on power, politics, media, and the people making headlines. On my new WABC radio show, you'll hear conversations from names that you know. People like Jerry Falwell Jr., Anthony Scaramucci, Alan Dershowitz, and many, many more. Maybe, just maybe, we'll even hear from the president. No scripts, no spin, just real conversations with people who were in the room where it happened. And trust me, we've got some very big surprises coming. Look, I've spent years at the center of politics, controversy, and power. I know the players, I know the stories, and now I'm bringing you inside. When You Know, Sundays at 5 p.m. on WABC Radio, and When You Know Unleashed, wherever you get your podcasts. Because with me, you never know who's going to show up.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi. Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Reverend, I look at the statistics on hatred, and anti-Semitism leads the list, far away from all of the others. Not that the lower numbers don't mean it's acceptable, but anti-Semitism seems to be out of control. And I think back, we have what's called the 3 weeks. We're in the midst of the 3 weeks between 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, commemorating the destruction of the temple. And why do we have this 3 week period? Because it started with a crack in the wall, a breach of the wall. And then there was the deterioration, in terms of respect, and ultimately a destruction of the temple, which means that it all starts with a crack, whether it's a wise crack, whether it's some kind of hurtful statement, it's a put down, but it escalates. And you have hate crimes. And it's just, look at where we are today, where anti-Semitism is out there, out of control. And for many, it's acceptable. You can say the worst things about Jews and get away with it.
I will tell you, and I'd put it in a larger context. It's just a problem that we have with the other, whether it's racism, anti-Semitism, religious bigotry. It's this problem that we have with anyone that's not like us. And it's like we want everyone to conform to us. One of the things that I appreciate in the Jewish community, and we had one guest who talked about it, one rabbi, it's Jake Novak, right? And two things, in fact, now that we think about him, I want to bring up two things in our conversation with him. But one of the things that he mentioned is that Jews are not taught to proselyte. So proselytizing is not part of what you do. If people inquire, you do, bring them in.
Right.
But in the Christian evangelical, in fact, the whole idea of evangelical is spreading the word and converting people, to the faith. And that creates a tension when you're in a society and you're the minority in that society, or even if you're the majority in that society and you're demanding that everybody conform to that faith or its values or its practices, and that's a tension here in the United States that we have right now. So it's about the other. And if you study American history, we have gone through problems with the other. But what I really want to focus in on is the solution. Is the solution law and order? Because if you speak to some people, and they fall on different places of the political spectrum, but that term seems to be a panacea for whatever ails society in terms of society's violence and crime and corruption. And I think that's a problem, that law and order is important. I agree that law and order matter. A society that cannot enforce its laws can't protect its citizens. So when you think about anti-Semitic violence, harassment, vandalism, threats, and intimidation, it should be prosecuted swiftly and consistently. And I believe the government, this is my faith, government has a God-given responsibility to restrain evil and protect the innocent. But I think it's more
Yeah.
than just law and
I
order.
agree.
Law
Law and order is
restrains
not going to
evil.
eradicate anti-Semitism
No,
or any other
no,
form of
because
hatred.
yeah, we need just laws that restrain evil, but we need just institutions that administer those laws impartially. Because what happens, there is inequity in how the law is applied. We also need virtuous citizens, individuals whose character makes coercion less necessary.
Yeah, you need
Because if
role
it's
models.
Yes, you need people. So
Yeah.
it's not just like, okay,
I
let's beef up the law. Look, law ended slavery, but it didn't get rid of racism.
yeah,
Racism persisted.
exactly.
Even with the change in laws and amendments to the Constitution, racism persisted. So it's not a one size fits all answer to what ails our society. And yet there are people who say, yeah, that's it. We need law and
Look,
order.
I hear people say education, Holocaust education, and I think it's essential. People should know the history of pain of other people. But in many cases, it doesn't transform the individual. We have people who, they go through it, they go through the motions, they go to the courses, sensitivity training, and they come out and they still have the same hardcore feelings against the other.